Good evening, all you wonderful people out there in YouTube and Facebook land. Welcome to Ashford Garley Live here on Bridge Radio Africa. My name is Volcano Shelton, co-host of the program. It's good to be back here this evening with you. God is good. Every day you wake up, you want to be grateful. You want to show gratitude for His mercy. And so I'm very grateful tonight to be here. Ashford is not in studio with us tonight again, but nevertheless, he will be back. I know you guys miss my brother so much, but Ashford is on the horizon and he will be coming in soon as possible. Again, I said he's working behind the scenes to take this platform to new heights. And so we're hopeful that everything, pays off for the hard work he's doing behind the scenes. While in the meantime, I'm holding the fort and making sure, that we are bringing you the programs as usual because we don't want to let you down, our wonderful fans and viewers and listeners, wherever you are. We appreciate you coming on every time we come on to broadcast here on British Radio Africa, Ashford, Garley Live. Well, this evening we're going to take a different shift in our presentation, but I want you to, be there with us. We did tell you that we were going to bring in former Commissioner Massa Washington tonight to continue with the discussion on the recommendations of the TRC, meaning the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Liberia, following its work investigating the years of civil strife in the country. And those recommendations were put forth to the president of the government of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And whatever happened to the recommendations, as of yet, no president has been, looking forward to putting into action some of these recommendations, at least to begin the process. So, unfortunately, Massa couldn't be with us tonight. She has some very, very, serious pressing issue that she had to take care of, and it's unfortunate, but she promises to be back here Friday. However, what I'm going to do tonight is that I'm going to go through a few of the recommendations with you, our audience. We'll give you the opportunity. We'll open the lines as early as possible to have you call in and discuss with us. Those of you who want to chat by way of typing in your views and opinions, we appreciate it. But we want an engaging audience. The recommendations are clear cut in terms of what it says and how we can perceive it and interpret it. It's not a bad thing because it's a document. You can hold on to this document, read it, and understand, exactly what it entails, because it was written in layman term for the Liberian people to understand. So we want to engage you. We want you to engage the studio tonight, and let's have a wonderful time. In the meantime, before we begin anything here, I want to give gratitude to Top FM 105.3 in Zoedru Grangita County, for carrying our broadcast consistently doing that. I also want to recognize the support of Joy FM 101.5 and Live FM 104.1. Remember, Ashford Garley Live is one of the programs on British Radio Africa. In the coming months, we'll begin to bring some new programs so that we can change the dynamics of what we're doing here. But in the meantime, we can't do those things without your support. So we continue to encourage you. Don't forget the fund drive we launched a few months ago is still active. Whatever contribution, but we're looking forward to $10 a month, 120, and if you can go further, we appreciate it. Or if you can borrow some of your expertise, we look forward to anything that can help increase the performance of this platform. We don't want to take for granted what we do here. This is in recognition of what we want for Liberia, and we want to ensure that Liberia, is the place where we all can be proud of. But those things don't happen if we don't continue, to discuss the issues. And we're not here to discuss negative or positive. We just want to say what is right. And I'm sure you, our viewers, usually you can discern. You're able to understand that these discussions are not to say, oh, who's doing what, who's not doing what. It's just the fact that we want to engage and we want to make sure that people understand what our government should be doing for them. And sometimes we bring government to power and these government don't do right by the people. And we're not going to sit here and allow this to happen, because at the end of the day, some of us took oath to be watchdogs in society. That's why we are the fourth estate, and we must continue to speak to those truths. So, Bridge Radio platform is of human interest stories, news, education, and entertainment. Our content promotes democracy, good governance, human rights, and development in Liberia and the diaspora. We broadcast to enlighten, but importantly speak out against the ills in society emanating mainly in African countries, whether perpetrated by the government, influential politicians, civil servants, institutions, or the general populace. And who told you that the common man cannot do wrong? The very people we put in uh, public offices, like for instance, the clerk, the secretary, the frontline people, they are the ones that really perpetrate corruption in the country. And so we need to speak against those people who want bribery for everything. If I come to you to do the job, I pay, my receipt, everything clear. Then you don't want to hand me the paper. You're looking at me with tear eye. That does that make sense? So those are the people who also helping to kill the country, and they're part of the general populace, the citizenry. So you are encouraged to join us all the time when we come here to have these kinds of discussions, because all it does is that it continues to enlighten and give us hope for the future. So again, as I said, Masa is not here tonight, but she will definitely hopefully be here Friday. Things happen and we understand, life has to go on. And we also want to just give God the credit, because sometimes when these things happen, it 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 doesn't mean it is the end of the situation. So tonight I will be looking at a few of the recommendations. I will go through one of them. And this one I thought could be the reason why this recommendation was, or rather, this report with these recommendations was thrown on the back burner. Listen to this one. It talked about, the caption says, public sanctions, lustrations, debarment from holding public office. So it said the TRC recommends that all persons recommended for prosecution for economic crimes be barred from holding public office for 30 years as a form of public sanction. All those holding executive offices shall continue, and this was during the era of the time, shall continue to the end of their tenure, okay, and not be eligible to contest any public office in the future. This recommendation considers that holding by elections now at that time, okay, was not practical. It was impractical. So it was not practical to do that in the light of the global financial crisis that the whole world was faced with at the time, and Liberia was of no exception. However, holding these appointed offices, or rather those holding these appointed offices, should resign immediately or be terminated as of July 1st, 2009. So listen to this. Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is in power. She comes to power 2005. She was to rule the country for 6 years in her first term. They put a reconciliation commission, TRC, together, and I continue to say that it was just one of her ploys to get the international community to say that, oh, this madam is serious about, justice. This madam is serious about putting her country back on the right trajectory. This madam is serious about rebuilding this country. So she embraces the idea of the TRC. The TRC comes to power, comes to formation, and they start to do their work. They complete their job. You all know the story. So many things happened during that time. And then they put a report out and they send it out to the president. But just this part that says that, however, those appointed, in offices should resign immediately or be terminated by July 1st. So here's a woman who had all of her cronies around her, who she appointed, all of those people serving her at her will and pleasure. And this report is saying, let them go now as of July 1st, 2009. However, Ellen could stay because it said that those elected could stay in the position until the end of the tenure. So it means that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was never supposed to be president in the second term had this document, stand. Instead, I'm going to keep this document. It's not going out there. It's going to be water whizzed on dog back. Nothing going to come out of it. And then what's going to happen is that I'm going to be president for my second term. And by hook or crook, I'm going to be president for my second term. So if you disagree, call me now. The number is 404-272-2808. I'm going to post it out here because I want an engaging conversation here tonight. You know, so this is my interpretation of this part. That is why this document continues to be where it's at, because those people want to continue to enrich themselves. They want to continue to play the system, and they want to continue to hurt the Liberian people. And unfortunately, the Liberian people continue to do zigwe, and run all over the place and not understanding the plight. And sometimes we sacrifice to come and discuss these things because it's important. Nobody's hit anyone. Nobody hits the leaders. But if the leaders are not doing well, not doing right, come on, my people. Let's be practical here. How hard is it? How much it takes to bring justice? How much it takes? Many of us who are alive today could be the victim. We could have been the ones in shallow graves, forgotten about. So while you and I have the breath, we need to talk about these things. We need to support the process. But we can't continue to pretend that all is right. You know, we can. So call and let's start a discussion. And as we go through each, component of the ones that I thought were very important, then we can go that way. And then when Masa comes back on Friday, we'll continue where we end tonight. So the number to call is 404-272-2808, and let's talk tonight. Please don't sit behind the fence tomorrow and you criticize. So then the TRC also said that they recommended that the government of Liberia, and at the time it was Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in power, assumes its full responsibility under international law principles, okay, and regimes, and pursuant to its moral, legal, social, political, cultural, economic, and security obligations to its citizens to provide reparations or expiations for all those individuals and communities victimized by the years of instability and war. We come back to the drawing board. What was said here? Accordingly, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was a major player during the investigation. Her name kept coming up over and over. And that tells you that she was a major player, and she shouldn't have had a second term had this document took effect. Okay? So then, it was the government's responsibility under her leadership. The TRC recommended that a reparation program of approximately $500 million spanning over a 30-year period, okay, be implemented. That they must put a reparation amount of $500 million out there for all the people who were victimized. Do something for them. All right? Specifically, the TRC recommended that within the first 5 years, that is from July 1st, 2009 to July 30th, 2014, all direct victim support programs must be implemented, including memorials, victim support, and the process of persecution. So no memorial, Caller, just hold. I'll come to you. So no memorial, no victim support as of yet, and no persecution. Imagine that. Nothing has been done. So further, that program of compulsory free education, it asks again for free education, was continuing operation for 30 years. 30 years. Now, we hear that President Weah give some free education. That's a good, and I give him credit for it. If indeed it's free, um, I would believe it should be free. If that is what it is, then at least one segment here he took responsibility to do that. Even though I hear a lot involved with the free education, because when you pay all the fees, it was better you pay school fees. But at least for the books, we have free education. So $500 million was supposed to be put aside and give these people who were victimized, you know, do some victim support programs for them, do some memorialization, you know, and also persecute. None of that was done. There's a caller on the line. Let me come to this caller quick. Caller from a 6042 number. Are you there?
Yes, sir, Mr. Shelton. Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Emmanuel Newman. I'm calling from New York.
Welcome to Breach Radio Africa. This is Ashford Garley Live. We're sitting here tonight to discuss the recommendations from the TRC when it completed its work and was handed to former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. What is your take from what we've discussed so far?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity on your platform tonight. And you guys are doing a great job. You and Ashford. I want to say a big thank you to you guys. At least these are the information that the Liberian people need to know. People say we're quick to forget things, you know, we quick to hear and we're quick to forget. So, with respect to the recommendation from the TRC, I think in order for Liberia to be fully reconciled, I think we need some form of justice. Those that bear the greater responsibility to be held accountable for their role in the destruction of our country, where thousands of people were killed. So there should be a form of justice. There can be no peace without justice. So I think the leadership, those are in authority in Liberia, have to be cognizant of the fact that this is a process that the international community spend millions of dollars in, and it cannot just go undone. So no matter how long it takes, I think they will be held accountable some way, somehow.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your contribution and call. But yes, yes. So this is what we're saying. You know, um, 300,000 people died plus. I always say plus because we don't really know the number, and yet we continue to pretend that nothing happened because we enjoy a superficial peace today. So we think that that's all to it. But one of the things that I was very concerned about last Monday, past Monday when Masa was here, was that component of the recommendation that says that we need to do this so that we can set the spirit free of those who died. I have been haunted by that sentence in the report. That is why Liberia continue to look like a crazy jack o' lantern, because we got some of our people who die innocently mixed up with us. Their souls have not been released. They have not been given a burial. They have not been memorialized so that they can be set free. So you think the problem of Liberia is just because that stupidness? No. So many things going on because we have not done what we're supposed to do right for the people by releasing the spirits. And we're sitting here and pretending like all I did with the women and I go lay down over there do what they call the play. Let me speak Liberian English now. They play what I play ni what they play Effie. They wear white and tie up a whole day they pray. Yet the country stays to the same place. Master was very clear, and she's right. After I've read through this document, if this document was really implemented, do you know how far Liberia will be by now? Rather than us continuing to look regressive? Do you know how far? And we pretending like all is well because we see the erection of personal properties around the place, because we see stability as it looks, but people are hungry. People can't even get the right health care. People just walking up and down. And you know, I was talking to a friend of mine, a big brother, and we're talking about how the Liberian man is just this kind of guy, whether he's suffering, right? He to his last drop, you will never know it. The Liberian man is a peculiar man. And Charles Taylor was right. The white man, the black man, and the Liberian man. To be honest with you, Liberian man can be down to his last. His sneaker can be old, but he will wash that sneaker, scrub it. When he put his left form on, and he going out there, nothing in his pocket, but he still look happy. And so that's why the people take advantage. That's why they continue to take advantage. Because I never lived in refugee camp. I stayed in Liberia all through until I left Liberia 97. But to say the truth here is that if you record the stories of our own people in refugee camps in Ghana and in Ivory Coast, the letter that families were sending them, the people turned wild. They were not even refugees again in the people country. That's the behavior of the Liberian man. So because he doesn't show his anguish, he doesn't show his degradation and all of that, you know, so people take advantage of it. But the truth is, there are underlying issues in Liberia, and so much needs to be done. But it begins with this document, because this document sets the tune, because many things could have taken our country forward had we done some of the implementations in this document. Here's another component. It talks about addressing the needs of victims. The TRC recommends reparation in the form of psychosocial, physical, therapeutic counseling, medical, mental health, and other health-related services for all physically challenged individuals who were incapacitated as a consequence of the Civil War, to rehabilitate them in returning to normal life, utilizing the full potentials of other human resources. Can you imagine that? Did you hear that? So long before the mental health crisis we were just talking about the other day, all this mental health issue we were talking about that is trending in the country, the people who should be inheriting the country, our youth, thousands of them are hopeless, no jobs, they've turned to drugs. This recommendation had said that Helen Johnson Sirleaf, as of July 1st, 2009, had you made some money available? Call, I will come to you. Have you made some money available to start these things? We wouldn't be where we are. You cannot repatriate, disarm, do all of it, bring people back into the fold of society just because you took gun from their hands and gave them $25. You cannot bring people from refugee camp because you get them one bag of rice, you say, go start your life. You have to do it systematically. For those of you who live in America, while it's true, I've never lived on handouts in America, but I know how the process works. And this country is the greatest country because when people are on the, at the last, there's still places you go to get back on your feet. But that's not the case in Liberia. And so that's why a lot of the people just left in limbo because they have no hope. So the things that the recommendation talked about, psychosocial, all these things, it was very necessary to do these things so that it could improve the overall well-being of each person who was victimized. And that integration process or reintegration process was going to be, one that will have gone well rather than where we are today. In that same area of addressing the needs of the victims, the TRC recommend that personal cash or material assistance be given other victims who are today asking nothing more than assistance as a little as a bundle of zinc or two to put shelter over the heads of their burnt out or badly looted residential structures to protect them from repeated sunbeat rainfalls year in and year out. This shall be done on a case-by-case basis as the managers of the Reparation Trust Fund may determine. So people just randomly went around the place and burned people's homes down. Just destroy the property for no reason. The people say, the TRC says, get up people in small things so they can be able to buy the list zinc because of what the people are asking. They said they won't beating. Just get a list zinc, get a list cement, get a little small thing, let them put roof back over the list structure. They still got the land there. Let them do something. But you leave them. Your son took $10 million from local money. Then you say you take blame for it. But $10 million could have done well for many of the people who you left in limbo, who you did nothing for. But most of your cronies got rich around you. It was palpable. It was seen. It was visible. And we've seen it again. Just the other day, 3 years now. Look at people got. Some people pregnant already. Just by the kind of money they're making. How much is they asking here? Not much. Not much. So call us, please call. We want you to call. Call tonight. Call tonight. Let's talk. We'll be here for an hour. So this is not about, Breach Radio Africa. This is not about Volcano Shelton, Ashford, Garley, the giant who doesn't eat iron, the lion, or he's not a lion, but he doesn't eat iron, but he's stronger than a lion. That's not what we're talking about here tonight. We're talking about the plight of the Liberian people. We're talking about the plight of me. Me. How you guys wearing coat suit and I sit in the studio? Do you know how much of a victim I wear? And a lot of people go on to say, oh, y'all ran away to America, so y'all will not be citizen in our country. That your country? You know what I'm never stream of Barry? Hello, caller. Are you there?
Yes, Volcano, this is Emmanuel
Oh,
from
Jackson?
Boston.
Yeah.
Jackson, yeah.
Yeah, welcome, man. How you doing tonight?
Not bad, though. I'm good.
Good,
Fine.
good, good. Hey,
Yeah.
listen, you're hearing the discussion. I'm doing my one-man ride
Yeah.
tonight, but I need some of you
Yeah.
to come in and add a little weight to the discussion.
hmm Yeah. Yeah. I think going forward for our country, the only help that will really bring about changes that we need would be the international community, like in that the CPA, the Comprehensive Peace Talk in Ghana, and also the 2 years or tenure of Julie Bryant. About $520 million was raised. My oldest brother, I think, took part in that conference at the UN. And, it was kind of just the things you were listing about that she had been giving to the ex-combatants and all funding. I mean, there was so much money that was sent in. Then when Mr. Seti got elected, she also got a huge sum of assistance to restructure the country. But this culture of impunity in Liberia, I think the international partners will have to help Liberia because if you look at it, I mean, we have had people who we respected and thought that, like Mr. Sadis, Amos Sawyer, and all these people, that these people would have been in the forefront, to correct the situation in the country. But as you can see, a lot of people just got wealthy and fled and just let the system to collapse this way. So we would need the international partner. We would need the United States. We would need the EU. We need, those countries that were supportive of Liberia when Liberia was Liberia, that took part in Liberia
But
development.
let me just say this.
Yeah.
Sometimes also, that's why in part, in as much as we're talking
Hmm.
about Ellen's the crap she did, but Ellen paved her
Hmm.
way in the international community. She paved the
Yeah.
way, and that's why she was able to do all these things, and she did these things. And even in our body
Yeah.
politics today, she's still capable of doing a lot of these things. If Ellen
Yeah.
wants to push
Like
button right now on behalf of Liberia, she can do that.
Yeah, like you talked about her second term, because
Yeah.
she should not have had that opportunity, but because of the popularity and support she had in the international community, they block all effort to stop her from not taking part in that election. So we are at a stalemate, like you said, and I think right now she's deputy director, I think, at the IMF. She has a very high profile job with the IMF. So she's still a high roller. She can still take part in the process to change the country. But I just think the reluctance on her part is what is taking place with these young people who took over, and giving them the opportunity to run the country. And
that was,
yeah, it's not
and be
even.
honest with you, that was the gimmick. That was part of the ploy, so that the
Yeah.
attention of the people who knew who she really was and who have gone after
Hmm.
her, you know,
Yeah.
was taken away. And that's why now
Yeah.
we have, President we have said he will
Yeah.
support Ellie, he will protect her, he will protect her children.
Hmm.
But the
Yeah.
issue here is so much can be
Hmm.
done for Liberia, like you said, pulling the international community together. But the irony of the situation here is that President Weah does not have that international contact. People who
Yeah.
thought he
It,
did, it was just on the football field. The places that
mhm.
Ellen, had her contact was in the financial world, where people
Yeah.
would take millions and just put it to something.
Yeah.
On the contrary, President Weah doesn't have that, and you can see in his 3 years how many international people you seen going to Liberia, how many presidents you seen going to Liberia. Irrespective of the COVID, presidents are still traveling. Countries are still engaging. There are bilateral, multilateral, treaties going on. But how much do you see in Liberia?
Yeah.
See,
Yeah. But
so
like
sometimes
I
sometimes
said,
the person
Shelton.
who's in power can make the impact.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does have a very important part to play. So, like I said last week to the Commissioner Washington, I said we should try and find the way in which Sierra Leone was able to get that quote. And if you look at how Sierra Leone got the quote, they didn't get the quote from the Sierra Leone. They were able to influence the international community. I think through the guy called White. I don't know his first name. The guy who really pushed for that quote. But I think after Sierra Leone, they wanted to bring the same process to Liberia. But a lot of people in the government in Liberia refused for that process until we can have that kind of court system. Because remember, the crimes that Taylor committed, it's not only Taylor that committed such crimes. You still have a lot of people who committed those crimes, and they're taking part in the government.
Yeah,
And they're
absolutely.
being influential in the government. So until we can have almost something like the Nuremberg trial after the Second World War in Germany,
Hmm.
or what they're talking about, the 9/11 Commission, something like that. Where you have high-stakes international players playing a part to go after these top criminals that continue to recycle. I mean, just look at the government that's going to come forward between now and 2023. You find people who have been in the government for the last 12 years. And like you said, they got super rich. And I don't want to call me, but somebody who you didn't have money, now they acting or charity organization to raise money to pay for whatsoever debt he committed. This kind of thing shouldn't be happening in a poor country like Liberia. The country is not poor, but the country is not structured towards development. because we have these guys who hunger down on it and continue to use it to exploit it to enrich themselves. And it makes it difficult for the people because the influence is not there internationally for the people to bring these people to book. So we continue to go through this vicious cycle every 6 years, 5 years, 10 years, hoping that it will change. But it will never change until we can have rare persecution of these people. That's the only way.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah,
If you're
yeah.
just joining us, this is Ashford Garley live here on Bridge Radio Africa. My name is Volcano Shelton. I'm the co-host of the program. Tonight we're looking at the recommendations of the TRC, which you have had in studios with us tonight. Former Commissioner Martha Washington, who was one of the crafter of this document, but she's not in tonight because of some very personal issues. Hopefully, she'll be back here Friday and we'll continue from there. She will owe me an extra day because we're talking 47 plus recommendations. So it's a whole lot. But again, I want to welcome all of you. Let me look here on the chat bulletin and see who are some of the people in the house tonight. We are Doe. Welcome. David Wakolo. Welcome, my man. How you doing out there? I hope you're keeping warm. I want to look at V. Shelton. V. Shelton bags are packed, ready for the motherland. Thomas Awaji, Agnes Samukai Moba. Good evening and welcome. Marula Moore, Thomas Awaji, welcome. We also want to welcome Nabai Masakwe, James Davids, Abu Bebeto Fofana. When I call this guy, it reminds me of the days when I used to do soccer commentary. He just sounds like he's talking a big football player, Abu Bebeto Fofana. When you call it like that, it flows off your tongue. Welcome, my man. How you doing tonight? Ellen Poor, James Colley Jr., Clarence Taylor, uh, Don Gerald Newman, Unbreakable Hawa, and my man Emmanuel Jackson, Amos Weefor, Clarence Taylor, John Wade, and Raymond Clark. All you folks are tuning in. We want you to share the video. Invite a friend, Moses Kamara, watching from PA. Say welcome to the program. Vincent Kume and Agassi Oe Dwalu. I know my man Dwalu gonna call in tonight. I'm waiting for his call. Daily Raw Liberia, welcome to the show. So we're talking about the TRC recommendations. There's one here that kind of struck me, and I wanted to look at that one. It talked about bearer for former presidents, okay? And they pluralized it because we had two presidents who did not naturally die. President Tolba was overthrown by former President Samuel Kayando in a military coup in 1980 on April 12th. Then President Samuel Doe was murdered, executed, however the word you want to use, by a current sitting senator, Prince Johnson. So the recommendation says here that there be an appropriate national memorial, ceremonies be held, and a befitting grave be erected with a tomb to honor the memory and loss of President William R. Talbot, the 19th president of Liberia, who was buried in a mass grave in Monrovia. But let's go back to Talbot. Accordingly, Talbot was buried in a mass grave around the BDC. When they executed the people, they just took all of them and threw them in there. But that was dual time. So who really know where actually Talbot's body will be or his remains will be at this time? So where do we find President Talbot's grave? Remains to give him a befitting burial. But that's one of the recommendations. So then we come now. The TRC also recommends that appropriate national memorial ceremonies be held and a befitting grave be erected with a tomb to honor the memory and loss of President Samuel K. Doe, who surrendered to Prince Johnson and was killed while he was in his custody. Honorable Prince Wyatt Johnson should be made to account for the remains of the late president, especially the skull of the head of the president which he was occasionally displaying as his war trophy. Do you hear that? As his war trophy, displaying the skull of slain President Doe as his war trophy. So now, how do we balance this equation? Who's going to find President Tobo's grave or remains, put it that way, to give him a befitting burial and build a tomb with inscription of who this president was? On the other hand, Prince Johnson is still alive, but Doe is dead. So how do we account for President Tobo? But Prince Johnson can account for President Doe because he was the one who had Doe in his custody. You understand me? Somebody saying here that President Tobo and others were buried in a mass grave on Center Street. I'm gonna post this quick. I don't know how I got to know that, but that's what she says here. So that's one of the things the recommendation is saying. So however we do it, whether we do it without any remains, but we do it in memorializing these two former presidents. Somebody added in E.J. Roy. I believe E.J. Roy might have a statue at the E.J. Roy building, but we can also put him there because he was one of those people. Then we will be preaching really peace and reconciliation. But that's one of the other recommendations that they jump over. The next recommendation was issuance of death certificates for war dead. So it says the TRC recommends that certificates of death adorned in the national colors be issued to the surviving heirs of all those who lost their lives during the period of 1979 to 2003 as a consequence of the national conflict and who to date remain unaccounted for are without a grave or other legal evidence of death. The Independent National Human Rights Commission will verify and authenticate the conflict-related deaths utilizing TRC database and other reliable sources and will work of the Bureau of Vital Statistics in the issuance of death certificates. Have we done that? So these were some of the soft recommendations that Mazda talked about. We had a lot of soft recommendations. Those were some of the things that could be done, we could have begun with, and that would have helped in the healing process. But for people to just sit and don't do anything, and it says that all missing persons, that is, those who have not maintained any contact with relatives or friends for a period of more than 7 years, be and are hereby declared dead. Well, that's a bitter pill to swallow. That's a bitter pill to swallow. But it's still possible. Some people are still hopeful, irrespective. Today we have 3 missing boys. The family members are very, very hopeful. They continue to maintain that the relatives are alive. They maintain that. So even in this recommendation that the TRC is asking that those who disappear for 7 years and the family members have had no contact with them should be declared dead. I don't see that will hold because some people left and ran into exile. Some of them ended up in places where they had to change their whole identity to survive, or somewhere in, dubious behavior, and they die as a result of what they did in those foreign countries. So that cannot be attributed to actually the facts, the things that happened in Liberia, even though it was as a result of the war that they left the country, but it still didn't, account for that. But that's what the Truth and Reconciliation Commission kind of put forth. Then one important piece here that they argue and put forth is public apology. Public apology. Public apology. The TRC recommends that the government of Liberia issues public apology to the people of Liberia for the desolate nature of Liberia's conflict and the wanton loss of human life and destruction of properties that ensued in its wake. What they're saying here is that the government was responsible. Because if we had a government by the people, for the people, and of the people, a government that was doing right, then there would have been no revolution, no one would have revolted against the government. So the government is in part responsible. When the people put you in power and gave you the authority to lead and govern, and you go outside of those norms of good governance, good leadership, accountability, then whatever happens, you are liable as a government. So it's not because we say the citizens are a part of the government. No, but we still identify people who we call the first branch of government. Every senator, every legislative member, they were elected by the people. So they are part of the government. On the judiciary, the Supreme Court Chief Justice and all his associates and all the courts, the judges all over the country, they're part of that branch of government. And when you look at the executive branch, where the president presides with all his cabinets, his assistant ministers, his deputies, his managers, directors, and all these people, and the public servants who work within the government and are paid by the government, they make up the government. They make up the government. So when they lead the country outside of the expectation of the citizenry, then if something goes wrong, they are held liable. And so the TRC is saying here that they owe public apology to the people of Liberia. They recommended that the government of Liberia issues public apology to the governments and peoples of West African nations and other foreign nations and their peoples for the wanton, malicious, inhumane, and willful deaths of their citizens during the Liberian Civil War. Of course, we all know that many foreigners died as a result of the Liberian Civil War. There were nuns who died, the Catholic nuns. There were Nigerian peacekeepers who died. There were other peacekeepers from other foreign countries who died. There were nationals of other countries who died. And some of those people died innocently. They were only there to help our country. Some of them were providing public service. And they died. So the TRC is asking that the government of Liberia and the people of Liberia together apologize in the public forum to those countries where the citizens came from and died as a result of our civil war. But the TRC also went further to identify. They said the TRC takes particular note of the death of journalist Christopher Amodebe and Tayo Awutosin of the Ghanaian, or rather the Guardian and Champion newspapers, respectively, and recommends that the government of Liberia issues death certificates to the memory and that the Press Union of Liberia hold appropriate memorial service in their honor, and that all other journalists who fell during the Civil War be given the same respect. Be given the same respect. The TRC further recommended that the government of Liberia issues public apologies to each government that contributed troops, I just said that, to the various peacekeeping missions deployed in Liberia for the wanton death, deliberate, malicious killing of the soldiers while on duty. I have a caller from a 4217. Are you there, caller?
For the wanton death, deliberate,
Caller?
malicious killing of the soldiers. Hello?
Yeah, you got to lower your monitor because you're listening to the monitor. That's why you're not hearing me. Welcome to the show. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Okay. Deliberate, malicious killing of the soldiers
Yeah, you got to turn down the monitor, caller. Can you hear me now? You got to listen to the
Yes.
telephone. Yeah, you got to listen to the telephone, not the monitor. What's your
Okay.
name? What's your name? Where you calling from?
I am Lucy, calling from somewhere.
Oh, Lucy, you got on the show. You scared to call? You scared to identify where you calling from? You say you calling from somewhere?
I'm calling from Kentucky.
You calling from where?
Kentucky?
Oh, Kentucky. Okay. You following the show. What's your
Yeah.
contribution?
Oh, I just listening to this man from Monday. I've been listening. Liberian war. They keep talking about that war. This war is not something to continue to talk about.
And,
What they need to do is just forget about it.
and why not? Why not?
Because everybody know how they working to be. Ellen Johnson, Salif, Charles Taylor, and all the other people that came to the United States and were given money to go back to Liberia to start a war where they had a government that was running, the economy was good, nobody was oppressed, everybody was working at least. It is not even like now. Nobody was hungry at that time. People were working and taking pay. And the part about it, all of Liberians got together to support the war. Why Liberians can't be realistic. You see, they allowed this woman to become president 2 terms. So who are they continuing to see that they are responsible for the war? Liberian people are this thing that happened in Liberia. It had never happened before in any country. Where everybody come together against one group of people. The war was between only 2 groups. One group and the other one combined. That is the Gio and the Kran. I mean Gio and Mano, or Mano and Gio. And then the Kran. All the other people that got involved in this war, why couldn't they be the one to say no? This thing shouldn't happen. Because the 2 players were the ones who have more stakes into that government. And how they came up to just become angry and they started to oppose the government and things just fell apart. People came from America, all of Liberia embraced the war. This is the reason why Ellen Johnson said is getting away with what she did. Because Liberian people welcome her. They welcome Charles Taylor. Nobody from Lofa, nobody from Maryland, nobody from Kema or wherever to come and say, wow, why are we going to support this thing? This thing that is coming is not good for our country. We are not seeing that kind of thing before. Overwhelmingly, the boys rise up. They rose up and went and joined rebels.
Yeah,
until everybody defected.
So,
they joined the rebels.
so
Even if they are going to build memorial, nobody should build memorial in Grand Jede County. Grand Jede does not need memorial because we were the victims. We were the ones that were pointing out. Who were they pointing out? Those checkpoints are in Morovia. Who they were asking? What tribe?
But Mom, listen. We're not talking about a war. We're talking about what should be done to erase the war.
Nothing will be done.
Listen now.
This is the reason why it's sticking.
But listen now. Listen.
I'm listening.
I listen to you.
Everything has a beginning.
I listen to you.
Yes.
Okay, so listen to me now. What we're talking about here tonight, Ma, I know that you think that it relives the war, but we're talking about the recommendations after the TRC did the work, and they say the things that we need to do to move our country forward. If we do some of these things, we may not be able to do everything, but if we do some of these things, of course, we can bring healing to the land. We can change the country's image. We can do a lot more. So, do you think it's fair that the people who perpetrated the war continue to sit around and serve the country through governmental positions, but they're not even doing anything back for the people? Instead, they're getting rich and they're bragging that nothing can come, nobody can do anything to them. So, do you find that to be fair? So, the recommendation is saying those kind of people should not be in government. They should never serve government for 30 years.
But the people have said government gone. The Prince Johnson alone in a house there. Ellen Johnson said it gone. Amos Sawyer, all some of them that all these people that said came to United States and people to raise funds from here. So many of them raised funds from here and went to Liberia. What are they going to do?
So
they think have passed.
But
In fact, that woman went back and became president 2 different times.
Okay.
And then they jailed Charles Taylor. Liberian people are not fair. They let Ellen Johnson run our country 2 times, and then Charles Taylor is in jail. Who made Charles Taylor to go there, to go to Liberia when Charles Taylor was in Boston in a jail? Who put him outside to go to Liberia?
It wasn't Ellen. You got about to wrap up. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, you people are biased. I'm a crown woman that's talking here tonight.
That's not an issue. Nobody talking about what's biased, not biased, man.
Because we were the ones that were pointing at us. Okay. Nobody was on our side. But the Mandingo people were not really fighting for us. The Mandingo people had a problem with the Gio and the Mana people as regard to land issue. At the end of it, you see how they were killing us.
I'm not talking history tonight, man. I will have to let you go. I'm not talking history tonight about who's who. I'm just talking about what the recommendation recommends, that we continue to do what we have to do to change the country's image. So you hide yourself behind the scene now. You're telling me you're crown. I'm not here to discuss crown, Guillaume, whatever. The Liberian Civil War, we already know what it is. There's no need to come here and point finger and what have you. It's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying that what these recommendations could have done for the country is the reason why we must make every effort for these recommendations, if even not all, but some of them be put into motion, because it will do well for our country. It will help to change, the current state of affairs for our people. We can't continue to have only few people enjoying and the rest of the people suffering. We can't continue to have the same people who perpetrated the war hang around and brag about nothing to happen to them. All these guys, they say, oh yeah, bring war crown, bring war crown, bring war crown. But then when war crown comes, then they run. When they bring the recommendation, they don't want to do anything about it. Let me take this last caller and then I'll be wrapping up here. Caller from 0534 number. 0534, caller, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's your name? Where are you calling from? You will be my last caller. I'm about to wrap up.
Yeah, I'm calling from the U.S. here right now. I'm calling from New York.
What's your name? Where are you calling from? You said New York. What's your name?
Yeah, this is Domingo Jack. I'm calling from New York.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you that most of the time, the Liberian people try to dissect the war, talking about blaming people, and we try to look for solutions. But there's no really good will within the political hierarchy to find solutions. Because each and every one of them is somehow implicated. So when you want to dissect it, nobody will be clean. Because when you look at before the 80s, those who are the progressives, they are part of the war. After the 80s, those who are political stakeholders, they are part of the war. 1990, they are part of the war. So there would always be people who are unwilling to go by those recommendations. So you see, that's your revolving door. Who will judge who?
Well, we still gotta try.
Because everybody blemished. So you can run the parable with Jesus Christ. Who see the first one? Who will catch the first one?
I think you could cast the first stone, right?
No, you could do it.
All right, my man. Thank you so much for calling. You should be able to cast the first stone. All right. Thank you for calling. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for being there with us tonight here on Ashford Garley Live, Breach Radio Africa, Volcano Shelton here with you tonight. I thought it was a good discussion. We had some very wonderful thoughts. Everyone not going to agree, and that's what this platform is about. We don't want you to say yes sir or yes ma'am. We want you to come in with your opinion, whether it's as different as what we see, but we will still try to hold us, in a civil fashion, so that civility pervades as we discuss. So I just want to say thank you to Samuel Cook for coming on, Sinon Nelson, Lafayette Colley, rather Curtis, Lafayette Curtis, Vincent Kume, Josh Nimle, Awesome Saba. I want to say thank you for coming in tonight. J. Howard Freeman Richards, thanks for coming. Gabe Tucker and the rest of all of you. If you just joining us, we're leaving now. So we'll be back here Friday, 8 o'clock p.m. We hope to have Massa Washington in studios with us to continue the discussion. I left some very good areas for her because I knew that would be her alley. So I wanted her to come and address those things as we hopefully get her back here in studios on Friday. Again, we want to say thank you to Top FM 105.3 in Zwedru, Grand Jita County, Joy FM 101.5, and Live FM 104.1. All of those stations are in Liberia, helping to spread the word, broadcast our content. Again, we say thank you to all of you for being with us tonight. Hope everything goes well for your day and the rest of the week. And God's willing, we'll be back here Friday. Thanks for being there. Volcano Shelton saying good night.